What is going on, everyone? What the hell just happened yesterday? Valorant devs just came out of nowhere and dropped a 6.5 minute video of actual lore. Gotta say, man, was not expecting that, but thank God we're getting some more lore updates. And I hope we keep seeing these because Valorant is really inconsistent with these lore cinematics. I do like how they maintain a steady stream of lore flowing in with each patch update with emails and voicemails. But in terms of actual cinematics and action and dialogue, I think the community would love to see more. Alright, with that aside, let's dive in and break down the Come Home video. The video starts off in Peckham, which is a district located in southeast London, and it's also where Phoenix and his sister are from. It also looks to be present day Peckham as well, with the district booming with life, everyone is out and about, and there are a lot of Christmas decorations going around as we're nearing that time of the year. There's a guy talking in the background, and this is because the entire video itself was made revolving around Mary at an interview at a radio show. Mary, Phoenix's sister, explains Phoenix as this person that she adored. He was everything to her, and she even goes as far as calling him legendary, which is a pretty cool compliment to receive. As Mary continues on in the interview, we get to see Phoenix walking around through his old home once again. One of the places that he stopped at was his old school, just as Mary was being asked if there was a time when things changed. As we know from Phoenix's lore story, Phoenix was responsible for burning down his old school by accident, causing catastrophic damage to the building and to the people that were inside, including his very own little sister. Mary explains that Phoenix would often leave late at night, and she would get upset at him because of it. She didn't think that it was safe, and she was worried that something might happen to him. And it turns out she was right. One of the nights that Phoenix snuck out was actually the night when the First Light event was taking place. Although in the Ego lore video, we get to see that Phoenix was with Mary when it began. We can assume that they went indoors afterwards, but the event itself kept going for some time. And as it was still going on into the night, Phoenix decided to step outside once more. In this scene from the Ego music video, we can see that beams of light containing concentrated radianite were being shot down from the sky. And with Phoenix sneaking out and stepping onto the roof of his school, it resulted in one of these beams striking him directly, infusing his body with a high dose of radianite. I want you guys to just take a second and look at this moment here in the video. When Phoenix was being turned into a radiant, he didn't just absorb the energy that was being emitted. It looks like the energy actually split Phoenix into two halves. Not his actual body, but more of like his soul. One half is his human self, and the other half is now a radiant half, orange to signify his control over fire. These two halves then combine to create the same but new version of Phoenix. I just think Valorant developers really want us to see Radiants less as humans with freak powers, but that their Radiance itself is a part of their whole being and defines who they are as a person. This is something that Reyna strongly protects and urges other Radiants to do as well, to always be proud of their Radiance and to stand tall for who they are. Anyways, once Phoenix obtains these newfound powers of being able to control fire, well, he has no idea how to use it or control it. And what does that result in? You guessed it, a burnt down school engulfed in flames. And it makes sense, you get shot by a light in the sky, you feel your body changing from the inside, and next thing you know, you're shooting fire from your palms. Unfortunately for Phoenix, the school that he accidentally set on fire to had people inside, including his little sister Mary, and going through the ordeal of burning down his school and burning half of his sister's face, who was lucky to even get out alive, it marks a key moment of shared trauma in Phoenix and Mary's history. As Phoenix stops by his burned down school, he remembers this terrible memory playing in his head once again. We also get to see this mysterious figure in a trench coat that we saw previously in the Ego music video as well. We still have no idea who he is, but it is strange that we're hearing noises similar to Cypher's cage and ultimate in the background. Mary and the interviewer then go on to remember what the city was like after the First Light event, and this is really important because it's a bit of lore that's new to the story. According to them, after the First Light event, the city had gone into a state of complete lockdown. There were curfews set, emergency crews scattered all around the city, and they even noted that the air they were breathing felt different. Citizens were actually given warnings about exposure after the event. This is interesting because we know that Phoenix obtained his radiance after being shot by one of the beams of light, but what about the beams of light that didn't directly hit anyone? Could have the energy possibly dispersed into the air, which would explain why Mary and her interviewer recalled the air feeling heavier to breathe. If that's so, it's possible that everyone around the world that was near this event could have gotten a dose of radiant energy. Maybe this could explain why Reina's sister Lucia fell very sick after this event. Her body may not have been able to deal with the radiant energy that she was absorbing, and it caused her body to begin failing and shutting down. And this would explain why Lucia is also a radiant like Reina as we see here, but she simply isn't strong enough to live a body with radiant energy. This is just a theory based off their dialogue, but let me know what you guys think in the comments. Mary also goes on to explain that after the First Light event when radiants were discovered, they were seen as dangerous and monsters walking amongst them. Because of this, fear began to spread amongst people where they would even be afraid of their own family members, friends, and neighbors as they could be radiants who were seen as dangerous. I want to go back to Reina and Lucia just to add that everything we're seeing is in our current timeline. And as we know, Valorant's lore has several timelines, so there could be a situation where during that buffer time between where the First Light event happened and Radiant was discovered, rather than people being warned about Radiants being dangerous, they may have actually been hunted down and killed. Seeing as how Lucia would have been a Radiant who would have been unable to defend herself due to illness, it's possible that in an alternate timeline, humans killed her out of fear, which is why Reina rose up and started a massive Radiant war against humans. And yes, I'm talking about KO's timeline and the events that took place there. If you haven't seen my video on KO's lore, I strongly suggest that you do. And again, this is just a theory. But in this current timeline, Radiants were feared and people were cautioned against them after the First Light event took place. And as Phoenix walks by current day London, we can see him walking by a Radiant nursery just to show how far civilization has come since the First Light event. Mary continues to explain that over time, Radiant was discovered and the whole world shifted gears in the opposite direction. Everyone began to move on and people started to return back to their families, but Jamie, or Phoenix, was one of the ones who didn't return for several years. And we know the reason why is because of his fear of hurting his little sister again with his powers as he already did one time, so he didn't want to come back and face what he had already done or accidentally do it a second time. And although Phoenix had never returned, he wasn't forgotten by his family over the years. Eventually, there was brightness in the story where Phoenix reaches out to Mary and says that he's coming to Paris to see her during her performance of her song Ego. As the interview ends and the song begins, Phoenix finally arrives at his destination after walking through his hometown. Initially, we see what Phoenix sees his old home as this dark and lifeless building, but slowly his eyes see the truth of what's before him: colorful lights, snow, windows lit up, and life all around him. He looks around smiling as he feels more comfortable, and he finally arrives at the front door of his home, where he's greeted in a hug by his two moms and Mary standing there smiling. It's a great lore video that was released. I'm not too sure why it was released now, as Phoenix's lore has kind of died down after Vito was released. I think this should have been released sooner, but I guess they wanted the narrative of the story to be aligned with the holiday season and Christmas time, so that makes sense. And it's a good way to seal Phoenix's lore story as well, because out of all of the agents, Phoenix is becoming one of the only agents to have a complete lore story from start to finish, which is pretty cool. If they do this with all the agents, then that would be amazing, but after 5 years of Valorant, we finally got our first agent's lore pretty much completed, then I wouldn't get my hopes up too soon. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Drop a like and subscribe if you did, and make sure to drop your comments down below in the comment section about what you think. I know I promised more videos weeks ago. Again, super sorry as I've been really busy with work, trying to balance YouTube and work at the same time, but you guys will definitely be seeing more of me. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.